Welcome to the Creative Visionaries podcast. My name is Tori Barker, a digital marketing specialist, business owner, mom, and you guessed it, a creative visionary. This podcast is about inspiring business owners, building connections, sharing success stories, and motivating others. Join me on this journey as we tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary. Hey there, podcasters. Are you looking to take your show to the next level? Let me introduce you to Podtask, the innovative platform that simplifies the podcasting process and equips you with the tools you need to succeed. With Podtask, you can say goodbye to the headache of managing multiple tasks and deadlines. This app provides a comprehensive systemization and task management platform that helps you streamline the podcasting process. And it doesn't just stop there. Podtask also offers AI-based marketing tools to give your podcast a competitive edge. As a fellow podcaster, I know from experience how important it is to have a reliable and efficient tool like Podtask to keep you on track. It helped me save so much time in post-production, which allows me to focus on what really matters, creating great content for my listeners. So if you want to take your podcast to the next level, be sure to check out Podtask. As a special offer to my listeners, you can sign up today and get started with their free forever plan by visiting creativevisionariespodcast.com/podtask. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us on the Creative Visionaries podcast. Today, I have the pleasure and honor of introducing you to a phenomenal guest, Ann Carden. Ann is a strategic business consultant for professional coaches and consultants. She's a 3-time best-selling author, speaker, and podcast host. Ann, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Tori. It's my pleasure and honor to be here.
Well, so tell us about your story and how you got to this point in your career and how you got to this business that you're running now.
Sure. So I've been an entrepreneur for over 32 years. And I started my first business after leaving my corporate career that I did for 13 years to be a stay-at-home mom. But we were really struggling financially. And so I started looking for a way to make money. And 6 businesses later, here I am. So my first business, I was basically running a manufacturing company out of my home. And I employed a lot of other moms and was shipping creative dolls all over the world. And did that for several years, and then started my second business and built multiple other businesses. And then I've been coaching and consulting now for, it's probably going on 13 years now, I think. Wow. So yeah, it was a natural progression after building and selling businesses. I was actually running the last 2, and people kept asking me, about how was I doing it, my experience, my success. And so I started sharing, and I thought, gosh, there's an opportunity here. I started working with a business coach, and I saw the value in that. And so kind of put those 2 things together, and I thought, okay, I think this is my next thing. Yeah. And so I started coaching before I sold those other 2 businesses. But when my coaching and consulting took off, it was like, okay, this is really where I want to put my time and my heart. And I'm not interested in having these businesses anymore. So I sold those, and I've been doing this ever since. So
isn't it awesome how you have this journey and you don't really have that end in mind yet? It hasn't formulated, but as all these pieces come together and the experiences and the people that you work with, it just formulates this beautiful, picture of where you are now and how, you couldn't have imagined it unless you had gone through these experiences. That's what I love a lot about the entrepreneurial journry, is that it kind of forms you as you go.
It absolutely does. And, the interesting thing is it's also kind of one of the things that has brought me to what I'm actually doing now, which is helping other people take their expertise and their experience and everything that they've built up and bringing it into a coaching or consulting business so that they can also bring that value.
Yeah, and there's a quote that I often share. It's called, or I don't know exactly who the author of the quote is, but I heard it on a podcast, and the quote is, "Serve the person you once were." And that has been so relevant and mindful, that comes up all the time for me when I'm thinking about, what I'm doing, the growth that I'm going in, and even listening to guests like you and how you've gotten to the place where you are,
Mhm.
basically serving that person that you once were.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I even did that when I was working with small business owners before I started working mainly with, and I worked with also service entrepreneurs, professional entrepreneurs, but I did when I started working with small business owners, just because that's all I knew. And I hadn't really thought about that, in that way that you just said that. But yeah, that's very true.
Well, so tell us about, over your journey and working with different clients, you've developed 5 steps for building a high-end consulting and coaching and professional service business. So,
Hmm.
can you walk us through those 5 steps, or the framework at least, of what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. I should probably tell you though, really quick, why
Yeah.
I have that process versus the process a lot of people are out there teaching.
Yes, please do.
So it's my pushback to the industry. So most people out there, when they come into the online world and to the online space, coaches and consultants, the way they're taught to build a coaching and consulting business, there are some missing pieces.
Mm,
Number one, I don't think most people's expertise is really valued, and it's not, they're not building their business around what they really could be.
mm,
So they go down sort of the wrong path. Maybe they create a digital course, or they're taught to build a membership or build a community and then sell low end services, and or bring in low value clients, and
mm.
then ascend them up when you get them results. So all of those things, well, I was taught all of those things. Teaching short little programs, that's another thing. Just
Yeah.
teach a short little program, 90 days or 8 weeks. So I was taught all of that in the industry. But what I found is I wasn't working with the clients that I even got to serve. I couldn't even use my knowledge and my experience because they weren't in a place, because the clients that I was being taught to get were not ready for what I really could truly help them do.
Mm,
So there were just all these missing pieces. And I was really, after investing so much money, I don't even want to talk about it. You can hear it on other podcasts. Um, I just was really fed up, and I thought, I was so frustrated with the industry, and I knew I was good at what I did. I knew I was
mm,
good at business, and I knew I had a lot to bring to people. Why couldn't I make this work? And why couldn't I love this the way I wanted to?
yeah.
So that's when I took a step back and I thought, there's something broken here.
Mm,
There's some missing pieces. There's some breaks and some cracks here. And so I took a step back and I thought, in fact, here's another thing. I was even told by a coach that I paid good money to hire, that, and you'll never be able to sell another coach or a consultant a 12-month program. They'll never buy a 12-month program. Well, it's
interesting.
because she had never done it. And and so that was the whole thing, right? So I took a step back and I said, okay, what is wrong here? I either need to make this work or I'm getting out. And I started kind of redesigning my business, and decided, at that time, a lot of people were talking about high ticket, high ticket, high ticket, but high ticket for most people was $2,000 or $5,000. So I sort of took that concept and
Mhm.
I thought, okay, I'm going to go bigger. Like if I'm helping somebody build $1 million business, I'm going to get paid more than $5,000. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
going to do that.
The
And
ROI is there.
that's right. Even if I'm helping them build $100,000 business, I'm still going to get
Yes.
paid more than $5,000, right? So I sort of took a lot of different things that I had learned in the industry, and I created my own program, which is Expert in You. That's my method, and it is a 5-step method. So it's a top-down approach. It's like the value ladder: start people out very low and then ascend them up. Well, it's a very small percentage that ever ascend up. I
Yeah.
mean, I have never had somebody buy my book for $14 and then become a $50,000 client. It's never happened. So, so I just started selling high, and I started bringing in people. So I did two things. The first thing is I redesigned my business model, which is what I help people do all the time. I started looking at my expertise, everything that I had to bring to my clients, and I said, I'm not going to work with a client anymore for 8 weeks if they need me for 12 months.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to do it because there were two reasons. I did that. And then I would watch them go away and go buy the next thing because they didn't get everything, right? You
Right.
can't do everything in that time. So that was a frustration when I knew that I could help them, continue to help them. And so that was the problem. The other thing, sometimes I would watch them leave. They would get great results while they were with me, but then I would watch them leave and I'd see them 5 or 6 months later and they were back to the
Mm.
old stuff before they ever worked with me. And a lot of times they'll start with a new coach and that new coach will undo everything that somebody else has done. So I was seeing that all over the industry and I'm like, this is just ridiculous. You
Yeah.
don't build a business in 8 weeks. Why should I sell my services like this?
True.
So yeah, so I started really just calling in the clients that were serious about building their business. I started selling bigger packages. Now, don't get me wrong, I do VIP days. I do 8 week programs with someone who only needs a few shifts and
Yeah.
they know how to build a business. For example, I work with a lot of business coaches and they know how to build a business. Maybe they just need some online help. Maybe
Yeah.
they just need some tweaks or some shifts in what they're doing. They
Right.
don't need me maybe for 12 or 20 months, you know. So I started kind of doing what I call offers on the fly. I have my structured program, but then I have multiple ways that I can work with someone. And it's really about selling them what is the best fit for them. So
Yeah.
it's not about a cookie cutter program. It's about, I have private services, I have a high level mastermind, and I have multiple ways that they can buy my private services. But those are really the two main things that I sell in my business. So it's a very simple model. And this is what I also teach my clients, simplicity.
Yeah.
Get out of all the complexity and build a simple high-end business. So redesign your business so that a good example is if you start high, those could be your $50,000, $100,000. I have clients at $200,000 clients.
Yeah.
That's their high, their private one-to-one. Their next level down could be their $30,000, $50,000. It's a more of a one-to-many approach.
Right.
But then this is one thing that's very different is the low. Their low, my clients' low cash, what they get on the front end when they take in a new client, cash, is what most people are selling for high.
Mm.
So they're getting their very low tier offer. It could be $10,000 cash, 15,000. I have clients that get 25 and $30,000 cash
Yeah.
for their low ticket offer.
Wow.
And then on that, they keep their clients and we also work on the retention. So then they get to keep their clients longer
Yeah.
and stay with them and work with them. So that's really the model that I teach. So people can do all the scale strategies. When I say scale, I'm talking about the courses and the membership sites and all that. But quite honestly, they don't really, it's not a desire once they experience
Yes.
the
Yeah.
other model, they are like, oh, that's too much. I'm not interested. So I always say when you're making a million, you got the money to throw at a team and let them build that up for you. Then it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense for most people to build their business that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because this concept has been something that has just recently that I've discovered, and I've talked to a few other people in the industry who are also talking about this approach, and I love the top-down approach because
Mhm.
like they've said, many people say it's just as hard to sell somebody at a $10,000, $50,000 course or mastermind or whatever it is as it is to sell like $1,000. So why not
Yeah,
start high and not, start low? And
they're
like
actually easier.
really?
It's actually, well, okay, so you think about this. So I use this all the time. I say to people, if someone, when you are working with people that are paycheck to paycheck or barely paying their bills or whatever, if it's between you and their electric bill,
Yes.
what's going to win? What I mean, hands down every time. The other thing is when if we go into any kind of a downturned economy or we go
Mm,
into a recession, who's going to be more affected?
mm,
People that barely have money, right? Or people that
right.
are just scraping by. And so when you're targeting all the low value, when I say low value, I'm talking strictly from a monetary standpoint.
Right.
But when you're talking about low value clients, you are always subject to what's going on in their life, And are they going to have the money to pay you? They're also the first people that can't pay the $97.
Yeah.
The $97 will go bad. But when you're working with people who have income, is first of all, when people are at a different level, they've already been through the mindset of investing. They
Right.
already understand investing. They understand you've got to spend money to make more money. That's the way it is, right? And so you have, number one, a very different mindset when you're investing big dollars. And it's not like I'm going to give you my money and I expect you to get me the results. It's not like that. They take responsibility. You get better
Mm.
clients. You get people that are all in, they're committed. When they make the investment, they look to make smart investments, but they're willing to do the work and do, what's necessary. So you just have a
Right.
whole different client. So it's not just a money thing, but it is also just as easy because they don't look at money the same way.
True.
It's not, it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't have the same value, but it doesn't. They
Yeah.
don't value it as much. They know it's comes and goes. It's like
Hmm.
it's not. So it's a very different mindset. So that's the first, is redesign their business model so that they can use a top-down approach. My second step is revamp your marketing. So what you did to get you to where you are is not going to work when you start going after really high-end premium clients.
Yeah.
That's all got to up level. Everything's got to up level. Your message, you may have to change your market. And when I say your market, not necessarily the exact niche that you're working in, but you might have to up level the people that you're working with
Right.
in that niche, or you might have to change your niche.
Yeah.
You might have to change your market. It just depends on, what you're doing. So that's the second step. The third step is what I call restructure your sales process.
Mm.
How are you going to bring in these high-end clients? Can you close them? Because they don't close the same way that somebody that goes to a landing page and buys something for $47, right?
Right.
So you have to understand how they buy. They don't buy through funnels. They don't.
Mm.
And so this is when I talk about restructuring the sales process. All of that is part of the sale. Is, you send somebody to a landing page, they buy or whatever. You put them in a Facebook group and they buy. Well, high-end buyers don't buy like that. They're
Yeah.
not hanging out in Facebook groups. They don't have time. They're busy people and they want to save time. They'll spend the money if you can save them time,
Mm.
if you can be the shortcut for them. And so you have to understand that even applies in the sales process. I always say, first of all, you want to influence them to buy. That should all happen in your marketing. So when they come to you, they're already ready because they've already checked you out. They know everything about you. They know you're the person that can help them.
Yeah.
So that's what happens before in the sales process. But then what happens during that process? And so it depends. Are you writing proposals? So there's a lot of things that go into, that those really, really high end sales. But most people have to restructure that because they have no idea how to close them. Or if they are doing big sales already, they're wasting a lot of time and energy and probably losing a lot of sales along the way because of how their sales process is structured. So that's all part of that. So that's step number 3. And then step number 4 is, okay, now let's ramp this up. And I call it rev up your revenue.
Mm.
So we've got redesign your business, revamp your marketing, restructure your sales process, rev up your revenue. And then the final piece is, speed. That is getting a coach to help you. Don't
Yeah.
go it alone. Get
Yeah.
someone who's done it, doing it, been doing it, and get that help. So that is my process.
I love that. I think that it's straightforward, it gets you through all the steps that you need to and takes you to that next level. As a podcaster, you know that creating great content is only half the battle. That's where Remarker comes in. Remarker is a podcast branding, production, and marketing solution. Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting out, Remarker will help you grow your show and build your authority. So why wait? Head to creativevisionariespodcast.com/remarker. That's REMARKR, where you can book a demo and discover how Remarker's full service approach can benefit you and your podcast. One thing that I was thinking as you're talking, what about the naysayers, right? Like people who maybe are at a certain point and they don't think that they have the capability of going to this structure or the high end. How do you coach people to show them that they do have a purpose and they can make an impact and
Mm.
they can influence others and utilize the skills that they have to do this sort of structured model for their business?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, I have loads of testimonial videos where people are talking about, I had
I
no
never thought,
idea
yeah.
what I could do. That's right. So all I have to do is show them some of those. Yeah, but the thing is, I, I can have a 10-minute conversation with someone and I can say, oh my gosh, you have gone down the wrong path, because I'm just so trained to look for what is so valuable. And because I've been in business for all these years, I mean, I can just see it. And I've worked in over 50 different industries as well as a business coach. So before I worked with coaches and consultants. And so for that reason, I know what's going to be valuable. I know what their expertise, could bring to the market. And that's something that really does make me unique. That experience really helps me with what I do, because I'm so able to look at people and just really extrapolate that value from them. But if they say, the interesting thing is when I start working with a client, they're like, can you, first of all, can you help me do this? Like, I want to do this. They know they should be getting paid more. They know they have more to offer. They just don't know how to put the pieces together. They maybe don't know that it could be as good as it can be.
Hmm.
But once we package it and I really share with them how that is going to impact the market that they're working with, it's like they really get it. Then they are like, oh my gosh, I'm kicking myself that I have been doing this the wrong way. I mean, I just have so many stories
Oh
of
yeah.
people that, I'll tell you really, can I tell you a really funny
Yeah, yeah,
story?
please do.
So I had a client that she had gone down the path that I was talking about, the funnels and so she was getting clients for like, I don't know, $1,500 a month, but she was cutting the prices to get that client to actually come on board. And she was doing the work for them. I think she was doing like some done for you services for them.
Yeah.
And she had gone in a lot of debt. She'd been trying for 3 years. She had been running ads, doing all this stuff. And she was just so burnt out. And she came across me on LinkedIn and she started watching my stuff and reached out to me and said, I don't know if you can help me, but I'm just stuck. I just feel like you're the person. So I started asking her, what's your background? Well, come to find out, she had this incredible marketing and sales background, and she just didn't know how to do the consulting, coaching part of it.
Yeah.
So we put all that together. In one week, she reached out to a past somebody that was a client of someone she worked for. And
Okay.
she said, hey, this is what I'm doing now. And they said, oh my gosh, we want to talk to you. So they started putting together a proposal. So I've only worked with her for a week. So she sends me an email and she goes, okay, Ann, I know you're going to tell me to go up on my prices. So I'm going to charge $10,000 for this. So I look at that and I said, Amy, this is a $50,000 offer. She's like, what? So she said, she goes, so I got on the phone and I walked her through it. And we rewrote the proposal, worked on the proposal. And so she went back to them and she pitched them 50 grand. And she said that just no problem, no problem. That's what they took something off for $2,000. So it was 48,000 when
Yeah.
the smoke cleared. But she said, I couldn't believe it. And the one thing she said, and it was not even for a year-long program. It was like for 4 months or something. Like it was a really nice little package. And the one thing she said is, Ann, if I would have pitched them the 10,000, they
Mm.
wouldn't have bought. They would not have taken me seriously. They wouldn't have thought I was very good. And she said, I had this in me all along and I just didn't even realize it because nobody helped her figure that out. No
Yeah.
one looked at her and said, you shouldn't be selling these things in a funnel. You should be marketing yourself, the way
Yeah.
you deserve to be marketed. And so that's a good example. But once I walked her through everything, she went right back to him. And I mean, she closed that proposal. So she owned that value and then she really got it. So that's the case a lot of times. People know they want it. They just,
Mhm.
so I get the people that do want it. I'm not going to sit there and convince people.
Yeah.
So I let my marketing, just put it out there. And then when people come to me, they're like, I know I want this.
Yeah. And it's funny. I love that story. So thank you for sharing that. But it's funny because this platform, oh gosh, I love podcasting for this reason because you sharing that story is going to reach somebody who is probably on the same journey as, your client or people that you're working with who have
Mhm.
been there, I've been there, and you don't know that what's possible, right? Until somebody really
Right.
opens your eyes to the possibility. And there's so many of us out there who have so many skills and so much value to give, and we're underserving ourselves and really not giving ourselves the credit that we should be. And there's people out there, like you said, there's clients who are looking for what you have to offer, and they're willing to pay for it because they have that mindset and they're the right fit for who you are. So it's just a matter of knowing that you're worth it, getting in
Mhm.
front of those people, and then proving your worth and just going skyrocket from there, right?
Absolutely. And there is some real strategy to it. It's not the easiest thing. Like everybody can raise their prices and get away with
True.
it, right?
Yeah.
But when you go from, I have a client that went from, she was charging $1,797 for a 90-day program. She signed up a client that's now turned into $90,000 for her, one client. And she said, you never could have told me that I could do this ever. But here's the thing that I want people to know. A lot of it is how it's packaged. It's got to be packaged in the right way with the right value. The second piece is I always say it's not about the money, it's about the audience.
Mm.
If your people take nothing else away, take that away. It's not about the money, it's about the audience. If you target the right audience and you put the right pieces in place, they will pay the money. They have the money. And so a lot of people, when they can't think of getting that kind of money, it's because they either haven't been exposed to it or they're not around people, like they can't understand how to do it.
Yeah.
Because the people that they're around, maybe they're looking around and they're going, there's no way somebody would pay me that. I remember my very first business coach 13 years ago, I think, when not my first business coach, but when I came into the coaching space. And I remember her saying, I was going to, oh, can I share this story? Do we have
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
So I had learned how to package and put, I was helping other coaches and all of that. And I was running a local seminar, and I had, I think, a dozen or 15 coaches and consultants in the room. And I was going to teach them how to package their services in a different way. But I'm on my way to the seminar and I'm listening to, this tells you how long ago this was, a CD in my car, in my car. And my coach was saying, it was just an audio I had of her. And
Yeah.
she was saying, if you don't have a $50,000 program, you cannot sell it. Well, she was working with Dan Kennedy. So Dan Kennedy, the brilliant marketer, right?
Yeah.
So he sold very high end, very, very high end services. So I thought, $50,000, are you kidding me? Because at that time I hadn't been exposed to it. So it
Hmm.
sounded very foreign to me. So I went to the seminar and I brought that up to the room when we were talking about packaging. And I mean, Tori, you could have heard a pin drop, except that you could hear people gasping.
Yeah.
I,
No.
I tell that story so much because literally it was everyone in the room. You could hear them just like gasp and hold their breath. And then they said, "What? Are you kidding?" And even for myself, I was like, I have no idea what I would sell for $50,000. So when you're not exposed to it, it does sound really foreign, and you think this is such just a ridiculous amount of money, right? That somebody would pay you for that. But think about it. If I'm helping somebody add $1 million to their business,
Mhm.
that is worth every bit of 100,000 or more.
Yeah.
Realistically, you could charge a few $100,000 for that.
Yeah.
So it really is about the value, and it's not always money. Like a lot of people think it is, but when you're working with very high level people and they're going through a divorce and you can help them fix that and not get a divorce, how much money are you going to save them? A
Right.
high level CEO. So there's always a value that can be very, very, high level, and it doesn't always have to be money, but
Yeah.
it can have a huge amount of value to the person that
Yeah. That I love that story. I can
I have a
imagine
lot
this
of
is
them.
like
Hey, I have a lot of them.
well, it reminds me of that quote or that saying where people say that your network is your net worth. And so it's interesting because you think about like who you surround yourself with is really
Mhm.
going to be a huge impact on the growth and impact that you have yourself as a person personally and even as a business.
Absolutely.
So surround
Yeah.
yourself with the right people personally and professionally, and then you'll take yourself to the next level.
There's so much truth to that. Absolutely. I always am on the lookout. Like I have mentors that I work with and coaches that I work with, but I'm always on the lookout for who is that next person for me
Yeah.
and I think when you have that spirit and that attitude, like I've always done that in business. I've always looked at how can I stay ahead? How can I
Yeah.
stay ahead of the curve? How can I be cutting edge? How can I be ahead of what everybody else is doing? And I've done that through all of my businesses, and that attitude will never change because I know that is what helps me be successful. And,
Yeah.
so yeah, but that's so true. If you're not exposed to it, if you don't know what's possible. You just don't.
Yeah. I totally agree. Well, Anne, it is phenomenal to talk to you. I could talk to you all day, but we've got to call this to a close at some point, right?
Oh, darn. This has been fun.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories. I love stories, they're just awesome. And then your success, and then your 5 steps for everybody to take a listen to and hopefully contact you so that you can help coach them along those strategic approaches and get them to that next level. Where do you like to connect with people? What's your favorite platform?
You know what? LinkedIn is a great place, Facebook, but LinkedIn. But I would love to. Almost always have an upcoming workshop that
Yeah.
is a free virtual workshop. So I would love to invite anyone that is in the right place for my next workshop. And you can go to expertinyouworkshop.com. And if that looks like a fit, you can apply to come to that workshop. And you can learn a lot of the strategies that I teach my clients.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being a guest, and it's been a pleasure. Make sure you guys
Thank
go out
you.
there and take it to the next level.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Creative Visionaries podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, or share with a friend. Also, make sure to visit us online at creativevisionariespodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And stay tuned for more episodes to come. And remember, it's time to tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary.